I used to work nights in a hospice. One shift, I had 3 patients nearing the end. My job was to keep them as comfortable as possible. My coworkers and I tried to keep things light, but something that night made the air feel heavier than usual. Sometimes, I'd play harmless pranks to lighten the mood, jumping out of closets, triggering empty call buttons. We all laughed it off. That night, one of the aides rushed to me, pale. She said she saw my shadow moving in a room, but I was at the nurse's station. She swore she heard laughter too mine. I checked the hallway where she saw the shadow. Nothing was there. As I stood where the light would have cast a shadow, she suddenly screamed. I turned and saw something dark slide up the wall like smoke. I brushed it off. Later, I checked on a patient. 3 knocks came from the patio door. A man dressed in black stood outside. I didn't have keys to let him in, so I asked him to wait while I got the nurse. When we returned, he was gone. We searched the area. No trace. When I went into the patient's room, I found him on the floor, bleeding. He had fallen trying to get up. We helped him back to bed. He was DNR, do not resuscitate, so all we could do was ease his pain. I moved on to the next patient. He had passed quietly. As we reported the death, I returned to the fallen patient's room. He had passed too. That's 2 gone within minutes. We were overwhelmed, but then something even stranger happened. While getting linens, I saw the man in black again. He walked past the nurse's station and whispered, "One more, jack me up, and I'll be done. Just one more." I chased after him, heart pounding. A door slammed shut just ahead. Inside, another patient was gasping. The door closed by itself just before I got there. I entered. The patient looked straight at me, eyes wide. She took one last breath and died. Her eyes didn't move, just locked onto mine like she knew what I'd seen next. The window beside her was open. I turned toward the hallway again, but the man was gone. The nurse followed me in and said she'd seen him too. Same man, same voice. We both heard the whisper. She said, "I saw it. Oh my God, I saw it too." That made 3 patients dead in one night. We filled out the paperwork in silence. Later, another nurse mentioned that strange things always happen when a new moon falls on a Friday. Maybe that was just coincidence, but no one could explain the man in black. We never saw him again. Back in college, my friend and I would stay up late watching wrestling. One night, we left the dorm around 2 a.m. to catch a match at a 24-hour pool hall nearby. We weren't drunk. We weren't high. Just 2 guys walking down a quiet English street. The second we stepped outside, I felt it. A chill, not from the weather, but deep in my bones. It wrapped around me like cold hands. It wasn't windy, and the night wasn't unusually cold. But this felt wrong. My skin crawled, and my stomach twisted. We walked in silence. It took me a minute to notice we had both stopped talking. That was weird. We'd been laughing moments ago. Now the air felt heavy. I looked at my friend, and his face had gone pale. I asked, "You feel that?" He nodded, dead serious. He said, "It's death." And the moment he said it, I felt like something was watching us. Not from a window or a doorway, but from the air itself. The silence pressed down like a weight. We crossed the street, and then it lifted, just like that. We laughed nervously. The feeling was gone. It was like nothing happened, but we both knew it had. We made it to the pool hall, watched the match, and didn't talk about it again for days. It felt too strange to put into words. Later that week, I walked past the same spot alone. Police cars were parked outside an abandoned building. Forensics were pulling out body bags. 3 homeless men had died inside, days ago, right where we felt it, right where he said, "It's death." We never figured out how they died, but we both felt it before it happened. I never walked that street again after dark. My friend was right. Something was there that night, and I think it passed right through us. I was 19, babysitting 2 boys in a big old farmhouse. The place was isolated, surrounded by barns and silos. Their parents were out late and offered to let me stay overnight, but I declined. Something about that house felt wrong. The younger kid, Kevin, asked me to help him find a costume in the basement. It was my first time going past the stairs. The place was huge, dark hallways, weird corners, half-finished rooms. Every horror movie I'd seen played in my head. As we searched, we heard footsteps above us. I said, "Probably your brother," but then his brother, Chris, stepped into the doorway. "That wasn't me," he said. We froze. The sound was clear. Someone was walking around upstairs. I grabbed a metal bar that was lying near the wall. I wasn't about to die in a creepy basement with 2 kids. We listened. The sound stopped. When we went upstairs, we found the family dog, Lily, fast asleep. She barked at everything. Why didn't she bark? I brushed it off as an old house creaking. A while later, we were in the living room when Lily jumped up and started barking like crazy. Then, 3 knocks at the door. I grabbed the metal bar again and looked through the frosted glass. A man was standing there. I couldn't see his face clearly, just his shape. He said he had a pizza delivery, but we hadn't ordered any pizza. The boys didn't have phones, and the parents definitely didn't mention it. I told him, we didn't order anything. He said, "Oh, sorry," and walked off. No argument, no questions, just left. I opened the door slightly to watch him go. That's when I noticed he wasn't carrying any pizza, and I didn't see a car. Nothing but darkness past the driveway. I wanted to yell, "Where's your pizza?" But something told me not to. If he realized I was suspicious, he might come back angry. I locked the door and pushed a chair against it. Lily lay back down, unusually calm. That alone gave me chills. Later that night, Lily was out cold again. The boys had gone upstairs to sleep. I sat in the living room holding the bar like a weapon, trying not to panic. I didn't want to call the cops with nothing to say, but a fake pizza guy came by. Then I heard it, a sound like an owl hooting outside. But it didn't sound right. It was too slow, too spaced out, like someone pretending to be an owl. It made my skin crawl. I listened closely, trying to convince myself I was overreacting. Eventually, I made the worst decision of the night. I opened the door. I shined my phone flashlight into the dark. It was 2007, so the light barely reached the porch. Then I heard it again. The fake owl sound, closer this time. The light caught something. 2 eyes, reflecting back at me. They were at human height. Someone had been standing just outside the beam. Too close. I slammed the door shut, locked it, shoved the chair back, and ran to check all the windows. I grabbed a kitchen knife, one of those huge ones, like from horror movies. I sat there with the bar in one hand and the knife in the other, waiting. My hands were shaking. This wasn't just paranoia. Someone was out there. Eventually, the parents came home. I casually mentioned hearing things, hoping they'd take it seriously. They smiled and said, "Yeah, we heard footsteps outside the other night too. Weird, huh?" I grabbed my stuff and left. Never babysat for them again. I work nights at a hospital most staff believe is haunted. Everyone has a story. Mine starts on the 2nd floor. Only offices and computer labs up there. One night, a coworker stayed late. As he walked to the elevator, he saw something move. At the far end of the hallway, just past the lab doors, a woman peeked around the corner. He thought she was a patient who got lost, so he called out. She didn't answer. He stepped closer and asked what floor she was from. She slowly turned to face him and didn't have a face. Just smooth, pale skin where her features should be. He froze. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. All he could do was shut his eyes and wish her gone. When he opened them, she was. He ran out of the building and never came back at night. People started calling the figure Matilda. She became a hospital myth. But myths don't leave voices behind. Another manager once left a recorder running in his 2nd floor office. The next day, he called us in to listen. At first, just silence. Then a voice whispered, "Turn it off." We could all hear it. It wasn't radio static or office noise. It was a voice. Clear, cold, real. No one stayed late after that. Security checked the floor. No signs of break-in. No one had access but staff. They said maybe it was interference. But from what? There were no transmitters, no radios, no phones on that frequency. Just empty offices and something else. No one ever caught her on camera. But people still see her, just standing at the end of the hall. Watching, waiting, and always silent. If you ever work late on that floor and see someone turn toward you, don't let her finish the turn. I'm a night janitor in a radiology clinic. Most areas are fine, but the MRI wing always feels off. It's shaped like a W, rooms on each side, a workstation in the middle. At night, the lights dim automatically. No way to turn them up. One night, I was tying a trash bag near the center hallway. From the corner of my eye, I saw someone walk past a doorway inside the MRI wing. I froze. Only female staff work there. But this was a man, tall, dark clothes, long hair. I looked through the rooms. Nothing. No footsteps. No sound. No sign anyone had ever been there. I was completely alone. I grabbed my cart and left. Didn't finish. Didn't care. That was the first time I ran during my shift. Another night, my friend Sandra, an MRI tech, came in early to prep a scan. The room was dark, quiet. She said she suddenly felt watched. Not like someone might be here, but like someone is behind you, breathing. The MRI rooms have glass windows that reflect everything. So if someone stands behind you, you'll see them behind your reflection. Sandra glanced up and saw a dark figure in the reflection. But it wasn't behind her. It was behind the second window. That second window only reflects what's behind the first. So whatever she saw wasn't standing in the room. It was between reflections, looking directly at her. When she turned, no one was there, but her reflection still showed it. She bolted out and refused to work solo after that. I believe her. Everyone does. We've all seen things in those windows that weren't really there, except they were. That hallway doesn't just reflect people. Sometimes it reflects something else. 5 stories, 5 different people, but they all felt the same thing, that moment when the air changes, when a shadow moves the wrong way, when your instincts scream, and for once, you listen. Every story starts with that first small shift. In the hospice, it was a man in black who seemed to take lives with whispers. On the street, it was a chill that felt like death before bodies were even found. In the farmhouse, it was someone pretending to be harmless, hiding in plain sight. Hospitals are supposed to save lives, but even there, things watch from corners. Faceless shapes that shouldn't exist. Voices on tape that shouldn't speak. Reflections that show more than what's in the room. These aren't just ghost stories. They're warnings. They tell us that sometimes our senses pick up on things long before our minds do. You hear something off. You feel something wrong. You look once and see nothing, but the second time, it's too late. You start to notice patterns. The way silence feels heavier right before something happens. The way animals go quiet. The way some places hold on to emotions like gravity. These moments connect all 5 stories, whether people admit it or not. What if those patterns aren't random? What if whatever's out there finds the same kind of people over and over? People who walk alone at night, who stay late, who try to be brave even when they're scared. What if the dark notices that? Because maybe it's not about haunted places. Maybe it's about haunted people. The ones who sense too much, who feel the shift before it starts. And if that's true, then every one of these stories was just one step away from something worse. Every person in these stories made one choice that saved them. They paid attention. They trusted the unease, didn't open the door, turned back when it felt wrong. Not everyone gets that moment of clarity. Some look and freeze. The man in the hallway, the whisper in the recording, the fake owl, the faceless woman, the empty street full of something you can't name. These things don't knock. They don't explain. They just wait for one mistake. You'll never catch them with your eyes, only with instinct. That half second when the hairs on your neck rise, when your breath shortens, when the silence feels alive. That's the only warning you'll get. Ignore it, and you'll never know what you missed. There's something terrifying in how small these moments are. A knock, a whisper, a glance. That's all it takes to turn your night inside out. And when it's over, you won't have proof. Just a story that sounds fake, even to you. But maybe that's the point. Maybe these things exist just on the edge of belief. Just far enough to make you doubt yourself. Just quiet enough that no one else hears. Until you tell your story, and someone says, "Wait, that happened to me too." You'll realize then, you're not alone. And maybe that's worse. Because if you felt it, and they felt it, and I'm feeling it now, then whatever's out there isn't finished. It doesn't care if you believe. It only cares if you're next. So before we end this, look around. Has the air shifted? Are you alone? Or did something follow the story? That's the thing about stories like these. They stay with you. And sometimes they bring something else along. You're still here. That's good. Or maybe not. Because stories like these, once they get into your head, they don't leave right away. They wait. In the quiet moments. When you're brushing your teeth. Turning off the lights. Lying in bed. You'll remember the whisper. The eyes in the dark. The knock that came when no one was expected. You'll ask yourself if you locked the door. You'll pause before checking the hallway. And that's when you'll feel it. Something watching back. Not a monster. Not a ghost. just something that notices you noticing it. That's how it starts. That's how it started for all of them. These weren't horror movie survivors, just regular people who listened when the dark got quiet. So the next time you get that chill with no wind, or hear a noise when you're alone, don't brush it off. Don't explain it away. Don't tell yourself it was nothing. Because if these stories have one message, it's this: sometimes nothing is something. If you've ever had a night like these, share it. Comment your own story. Someone else might read it and say, "That happened to me too." And suddenly, your one moment of fear won't feel so isolated. It'll feel connected. Thanks for staying with me till the end. If your lights are off, maybe turn one on. If your door's unlocked, maybe fix that. And if you hear something tonight, just remember, it's your turn to decide if it's real. This has been 5 true horror stories from Reddit. Stay aware, stay sharp, and whatever you do, don't ignore the feeling. It's trying to save you. Subscribe for more. I'll be back soon with more stories you'll wish you hadn't heard alone.